Hello, everyone. Hello. What's going on here? Why is the YouTube not working right? Ah, there we go. Okay, should be up and running in YouTube and on the VTF. So let's jump in. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FinRecipic. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. On the position disclosure, I'm out of SolarEdge, SEDG. I'm out of AMD, and I am in very small TQQQ short. Very small. Those are the updates. All right. Let's jump in and have a look at this market, which actually performed pretty decently today with a really strong rally into the close. So how did we close? The SPYs here are up 1%. The Qs are up 1%. The IWM is up 1%. The RSP is up 0.8%. I can't remember the last time I did an afternoon meeting where all three indexes were up the same amount and the rally was actually broad-based like this. It feels like it's been forever. So, yeah, pretty good broad-based rally today. Like Pat was saying on the radio into the close, pretty much every sector is green today. I guess the dollar was negative and Bitcoin was negative, but who cares about Bitcoin? Everything else was nice and green. So, yeah, pretty strong day. Chart's got messed up. Yeah, he's a 5-minute chart here. You can just see gap up this morning, and the beginning of the day seemed much like the last couple of days. Tight, sleepy, first hour and a half through 11 o'clock, pretty much nothing going on. It seemed like we were going to get another day very similar to the last couple of days. At the same time, off the open, once again, disappointment from the Russell. Russell was relatively strong pre-market, and then, you know, started selling down by 11 o'clock. It had basically filled the gap and was unchanged on the day. And the Qs were slightly stronger, but also not too much going on. And then around 11 o'clock, we just kind of created this pivot low in the SPY and started this upside grind. Continued up to 560, and then really took off into the close as the MOCs hit. So very big move here for the SPYs. The IWM, which was frustratingly but unsurprisingly weak for the first hour and a half, played some major catch-up and managed to close up the same amount as the Qs did. It worked towards that 204. 204 is a really big level for the IWM. And at the end of the day here, it's a pretty broad-based rally. The IWM looks good, breaking up a little bit, testing resistance, but for once not tailing immediately back down. So we actually had our best close in the Russell, I guess, since June 12th, which that was also a day where we gapped up big and then sold down. So like, I feel like this is the best intraday action on higher prices in the Russell in a long time. Almost since May. Maybe this day back here, the beginning of June, was okay. But there hasn't been a day at these kind of more resistance areas where the Russell has actually traded well and closed well intraday in over a month. So the Russell was able to do it. So we got a broad participation. The SPYs extended further. So the SPYs have been kind of sitting the last couple of days just into that no man's land zone of more than $5 extended away from the ADMA. And after kind of two more consolidation type trading sessions last couple days, this morning they only opened up like $4.5 extended. So that was enough to set it off and get the rally to continue. And the queues obviously just continuing to extend. The queues have been borderline extremely extended like every day, but never really kind of capitulating up, going parabolic to the upside. Never really getting over that $10 amount by a significant way. Just kind of getting 8, 9, touching $10 of extension, but not actually breaking higher. And this morning, the queues I think were like only $7 extended from the ADMA. So back into no man's land after the last couple of days were kind of rests, and then just took off. So at the end of the day here, the queues are almost at 503. With the ADMA at 493 and change. So once again, we're just under $10 of extension from the ADMA and the Qs. So the NASDAQ here just kind of continues to rock and roll. So really good day today, really strong broad-based rally for the market, great overall continuation. Right in front of the CPI. So CPI tomorrow, it's the most important economic number. It seems like it's the biggest market moving number that we get these days. Obviously coming out once a month, so we're going to get the June CPI tomorrow, and we'll see how it moves us. We'll see if it continues the trend or if it reverses us back down. Fundamental events can obviously, very quickly change your technicals, so again, we'll see how that plays out. I know Pat was saying like he doesn't really want to be going short into the number, and I don't blame him. I have a very, very small TQQQ short position that I'm keeping overnight. Somewhat inconsequential, to be honest. But Pat was also saying that if we get a big spike tomorrow, you could very quickly be looking at the Qs at like $13 of extension, which is what we had seen back here on June 17th, which was the last time I was trying to short the Qs, and it was a pretty good multi-day trade there that paid out pretty well as these Qs corrected into their equilibrium zone and created a pivot low. So it could be a similar situation where if that CPI is a good number, the market reacts well, you might see the Qs at 505, 507, and at that point you'll be really extremely extended. And I like the idea of really kind of layering into the shorts at that point. We'll also be curious though. It's still an interesting market because the Qs are looking like that, and whereas the IWM just woke up for the very first time today. So we'll see where the relative strength is after the number tomorrow, or relative weakness. I would enjoy, but I would honestly be surprised if tomorrow at the end of the day I'm looking at the 3 indexes to see that they're all up or down by the same amount again. Probably won't happen. We'll probably be seeing strength somewhere or another based on how that number moves, interest rates, moves the dollar, and obviously moves the market. So to be determined, but we might have today was kind of a sleeper as far as the excitement level. I wasn't expecting an exciting market today, just like I wasn't expecting an exciting market the last couple of days, and it wasn't exciting for most of the day before waking up and having that strong upside grind rally. So we'll see what happens tomorrow if we get some fireworks. So that's kind of from an index perspective, I guess, a broad-based review there. From a trading perspective, there was a lot of opportunity out there today. I liquidated the Solar Edge trade, which was initially from a couple of days ago, into the close. That was a really good trade. I closed that one out. I had GameStop on the radar today for a trade. I traded it, made some money in it. This one did not close well. I ended up stopping myself out when this low broke kind of here, but made some money in it. Caught a really good initial move. Gave some all the way back basically to that low. I trailed it very loose, obviously, yeah, it was an okay opening drive kind of trade. AMD gave great continuation, but I think it was really tricky. This SOUN was asleep. This SOUN was very hard because it did not trade well at the open, and then it just decided to wake up and go, which is the move that I was looking for. I was in this and ended up kind of getting out relatively quickly and did not make very much on it, to be totally honest. I probably did not trade it well, but it wasn't trading right. It didn't. It seemed, they sold it down. But this is what happens now. This is what happens so often on news and on upgrades, where traditionally, and I know I've talked about this in the past, a few years ago, when you get news or an upgrade, if the stock's going to go, it goes immediately. And it used to be all about how fast you could be at the open to get a good price and be involved with the momentum. Now I feel like so often you'll see when these trades go, they sell them off at the open, they'll sell them to flat, they'll even sell them to negative on upgrades, on news, and then out of nowhere it kind of breaks highs and wakes up and goes. And this was similar to that. They sold this SOUN down to negative, I think. Or to exactly flat, I guess. And then it ended up breaking higher and going. But the real focus, which was a lot of energy for at least for me, for not a lot of P&L, I actually traded this. I gotta say, I traded this very, very well, all things considered. To finish flat, small positive, very small positive in the name. I mean, I literally finished up $32, but I keep my commissions in my light speed artificially high, so my P&L always looks worse to me than it actually is. And I traded so much stock in this thing that my P&L is actually, I made a few bucks in it, but not for the effort, not for the work. Oh my god, I started shorting this thing. When did we start? When was the first short that we put on in this, Jim? 775, I think, is when I put my first short on. And I know you stopped yourself out and got yourself back in and worked that way. I never fully stopped myself out. I never got to flat until the close. So I basically managed to start shorting this thing at $7.75 and more or less, working the position where I'd get heavier at times as the stock would extend higher, and then get much lighter in the small pullbacks that the stock would give. But I basically started shorting this thing at $7.75, never stopped myself out, all the way through the 11.40 high or whatever it was, $11.35 high. That's a massive move on a percentage basis, and managed to finish positive on the name. So I actually think I traded this thing extremely, extremely well, even though I've got no P&L whatsoever to show for it. I got heavier in all the right spots. I sized down in all the right spots on the pullbacks. I got probably a few lucky fills also, to be honest, on some of those pullbacks, and it worked out. I mean, this just was a big focus. This is when I was at the dentist. I left some bids out and went to the dentist. I had like, into this spike, I had like, I don't know, 25,000 shares or something like that. And then I left like 12,000 shares on and went to the dentist with no stop loss and a bunch of sizable bids out. And I got filled on like most of those bids into this move right here, and came back from the dentist and started kind of trading it again and free-shorting it. It was somewhat ridiculous, to be totally honest. And then liquidated my position kind of into the close here to make a couple of dollars. But yeah, a lot of energy expended on that one. A lot of volume traded. A lot of executions traded. Not a great risk reward overall on my P&L. I was down 5 figures at a certain point to finish flat positive in it. But you can't really dictate what the stock is going to do. You just dictate how you trade it based on the movement. And even though I was down a lot, and the risk reward and the effort from what I made probably wasn't worth it, I honestly don't think I could have traded it better given the circumstance. I traded it extremely, extremely well, let alone if the trade ever actually worked at any point during the day, which it never did. Never really rolled over and failed or anything like that. Just an insane move trying to short this QURE. Sick move, sick 2-day move on some news. Plus, I had fun. I wasn't feeling like I was having fun when I was down 5 figures in it. I can tell you that. But all is well that ends well. Just an insane move. I really don't like trading biotechs. I don't like trading biotechs. It's not an area that I have any expertise in. you could show me what the news was again if you have it in front of you. I didn't even read it. As soon as I saw that it was drug trial related, I was like, whatever. There's nothing else I need to know. I'm not a doctor or scientist who are going to be able to sit here and figure out how significant that news is. But you got to be very, very careful trading individual biotech stocks. From my experience, it's always the biotech stock that can be up 400% or down 90% because of some drug trial. So I have absolutely no idea what the value is to this company of the success of whatever this drug is. Absolutely no idea. It could be worth $25 a share after that, for all I know, or maybe it belongs at $5. I just saw that it was up a boatload and had a large float and not a large short float. So I know that there's not really shorts getting squeezed in here. And usually when the float is that large and the stock is traded down this much over time, there's just a lot of players in this thing who have been sitting out of the money in it and just got totally bailed out today. So that usually creates enough price memory on the way up where you can get significant resistance at certain points, significant pullbacks at certain points. So I thought that this thing could be pretty tradable by the time it was even at the $7.75, $8, eventually $9, just to run into some broader selling and resistance from the people that are getting bailed out on this news. But apparently not. The buyer in this thing was relentless. Just the algo buyer on this moving average. At a certain point, it was on the 2-minute. I never look at a 2-minute, but at a certain point, this thing was riding this 2-minute at a crazy time of the day too. At 10:15, it basically rode the 2-minute from 10:15 a.m. to 11:10 a.m. Just rode this 2-minute higher at this time of the day too. It's not something that you see very often. Before we got this kind of volume spike here where there's a little bit of an upside capitulation that led to the bigger pullback. And those are some of the better opportunities in this thing was the extension volume increase combo. We had that happen here at 10:30 where you had, 4 bars up with a doji on higher volume that led to, dare I call it, a little bit of a pullback. It was good enough for me that pull from 40 to 06 to I think I shorted a lot in the 830s and was able to cover a lot by that 806, and then kind of rinse and repeat here into this bigger volume move at 11:10, 11:15, where it extended up on volume, which again is actually a lot of times a signal that it's like a final short that's stopping out, or a buyer who's just market buying the final shares that he needs to buy, and you get a little bit of a bigger pullback. So that one worked out okay. And then you had even bigger volume go off on the way up and through 10, which was each one of these was a bigger signal to try to take heavier size at good prices on the short for the pullback, and they worked, And this one gave a nice pullback here to this $9.22. I had one more. I had layered out. This is when I was at the dentist. I layered out some heavy bids at like 9, I think 36, 31, 26, and 20. And I got filled on all of them except the 920. The low was 922. Yeah, that thing was just nuts. Just really, really, really wild. And at a certain point, I'm like, how come when I buy stocks, they don't do this? when I'm long a name that I feel like is a news momentum stock, I feel like this move never happens. But if I come in and I want to short it, then this move can happen. Yeah, just real crazy one. I hope anybody that traded this came out unscathed as well, because it was violent. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Good day today. A lot of opportunity from some of the stocks that were in play. Some of the stocks we were talking about, and some I wasn't even involved in. Like Newmont was really good. We talked about that in the morning meeting. GDX gave some continuation. So there was a lot of opportunity out there today. I hope traders were able to take advantage of it, and I hope everybody had a good day. That's pretty much all that I've got. I am happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Give me one quick second. All right. Not seeing anything in the VTF, but don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Over in the YouTube from Kevin G. Was the Apple news what moved the market? Let me read the rest of your question before I answer that one. I'm gonna say no, but was the Apple move what moved the market? I saw a headline stating that Apple aims to ship 10% more iPhones. It doesn't seem likely catalyst, but I couldn't find any news. I think that news moved Apple. That there was something out pre-market on Apple, and then I think that was really positive because there's been a lot of chatter about a slowdown in iPhone sales, or at least there had been prior to June, and now we're starting to consistently see the opposite. So I think that was the catalyst for Apple specifically, but I don't think it was a catalyst from the market as a whole. The rally today was too broad-based. I think that it was just a nice technical break higher for the market today in front of the CPI, as we got a little bit of relief from interest rates, and the dollar did nothing, so there's no relief there. But I think it was just a broader technical nice move higher, and we're still, you got to keep in mind, in a period of time here where the seasonality is very bullish, and there's money out there that can still flow into the equity market, even as positioning is getting a little bit frothy. We've also discussed that it's not necessarily like a counter move indicator at this point. You actually have to break down in order for that to occur. And meanwhile, there is new first half of the year money coming into the market. That's why these first 2 weeks in July, they just tend to be, the two strongest weeks of the year. And the beginning of this July has been no exception. It's been a really strong couple weeks here from an index level. From an index level. Today was the first day that rally was actually broad-based. From JB, I entered long on the SPYs at 10 a.m., but I was stopped out when it pulled back. How can I avoid that in the future? You went long at 10 a.m., but you get stopped out on the pullback. It's hard. It's very hard to not get stopped out in that move. So I'm saying the beginning of the day today was anemic. Did we break the opening low? Yeah, we did. It's almost impossible to not get stopped out. If you were along the SPY, doing from any intraday reason prior to 11 a.m., I don't see how you don't get stopped out, to be honest. My trading plan is such that I only do one trade per day. I trade the 15-minute breakout. I don't see how it's possible to not get stopped out, JB, and I think that is just part of trading sometimes. And you have to be prepared for it. If you pull your hair out trying to figure out how you could have been long the SPYs prior to 11 a.m. and caught the rest of the move, I think that's a slippery slope to actually starting to do the wrong things. Because I think that getting stopped out because your stop loss broke, because the opening low broke, I think it's 100% the right thing. Especially when the way the price action has been with this, heavily positive gamma, these last couple of days, these rallies have faded. So it's like, what would have happened if you didn't stop yourself out on the break of the opening low 2 days ago? You would have lost a lot more money. It was the right thing to do. What would have happened if you didn't stop yourself out on the break of the opening low yesterday? You would have been down a bunch more P&L. It didn't end up being too bad, but you put yourself in a lot of danger. So today you need to do the same thing. You need to stop yourself out when that opening low breaks. And guess what? Every once in a while we work on a game of probabilities. You get stopped out in the low, and then the market will just go without you. That's not what matters. What matters is process. Is the process that you're involved in something that's going to be able to deliver a consistent return or not? And I think that you did the right thing. So I don't have an answer for you on how you can avoid getting stopped out when getting stopped out is the right thing to do. And you should not be concerned with what happened next. From Kevin, I'm a bit concerned with today's move and tomorrow's CPI. We had this happen a couple of times where the trend before the macro news leads to a boring couple of days on the CPI day. Yeah, it could be that way. Any thoughts on the expectation numbers tomorrow? No thoughts yet. I usually do that research in the morning. It's very possible that if we just have an inline CPI, that we get some volatility and that it still ends up actually being a boring day just because of the heavy positive gamma plus the market extension. It's definitely possible. Big moves happen on news that is against consensus expectations. In other words, big moves happen on surprises. So if we get a surprise in one direction or the other, then yeah, we'll probably see a big move. But if we don't, then it's an inline number. It would not be impossible to have a disappointing CPI day where nothing happens. But we have to assess that tomorrow. We do our research in the morning, and then we'll see what the number looks like when it actually hits. What else, guys? No one has anything in the VTF? You guys got it all figured out? Everybody's got it all figured out at this point? Bill Huang found guilty after trial over 2021 Archegos collapse. Wonder what that's going to happen. I wonder what that's going to lead to. I mean, I wonder what a sentence looks like on that. From David L. I may have missed this in the VTF earlier, but was that Bezos selling on Amazon today? Yeah, I think so. There's no way to know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that was Jeff selling today on that volume, and the stock was super relatively weak, and it still can't get above 200. Yeah, I mean, it's not Jeff Bezos doing the selling execution. I could tell you it's not Jeff himself who's deciding the time of the day and when he's going to sell it. So, I'm sure that there's an execution trader out there or an execution algorithm that's out there that is selling based on maybe parameters that were provided from him, that he wants a certain average price or something like that to sell the stock. But it seems like the selling has been conservative. That it's been primarily only happening above 200. And there's no way to know that this higher volume here even was him. It could simply be that there's been so much buying in. I think that this was all Jeff Bezos selling. All this stuff above 200, I think, is all him selling. Maybe even in the beginning of the day when the same thing happened. So when you got this big sell here, I'm not convinced that that's actually Jeff's selling. It could be, but it also could be whoever's been buying here into 200 every day just said, my stock's not going up and I don't want to hold this into CPI, and puked it out. So it could be some buyer that has just was buying into Jeff every day and then puked out the position, and not actually Jeff himself. But there's no way to know. From Tate, you talked about CMG being expensive fundamentally. I did. Does LST, do you mean Lightspeed? Does Lightspeed have a trailing PE indicator, or do you calculate the number myself? I just get it from outside sources. You can get a general idea of I usually actually prefer to look at the forward multiple and not the actual PE. But you can just get it, from Yahoo Finance or whatever. And I think it trades like a 60, I think. And I only even know that not because I researched it myself, but because I was listening to a podcast, I think, and it got mentioned what the CMG multiple was. And I was like, wow, that is expensive for a burrito company that's been around as long as it has. At a certain point, I think a fast food company like a Shake Shack or a Chipotle, when they're really in that early growth stage, can justify a high multiple because they're the hottest thing that's out there right now. They only have so many stores, everyone wants it, and they're expanding and opening more stores and opening more stores and opening more stores, and you could justify a high multiple for a fast food chain. But in my opinion, at least with CMG, and I'm a big fan of Chipotle. I ate it yesterday for dinner, and I ate it the day before that for lunch. But they're everywhere. how could they be opening CMGs at the rate that they were previously that justifies that degree of a multiple? Is kind of my thought process on it. With that said, if anyone knows somebody at Chipotle, if you could tell them to open one up in Victor, Idaho, it would be much appreciated. And it's crazy to me, if you've ever been to Idaho Falls, which is an okay city, they've got so much fast food in Idaho Falls, but they don't have a Chipotle. I'm like, man, I just want a Chipotle when I'm in Idaho Falls, and they don't have it. So anyway, rant over on that one. But I'm pretty sure, and double check, do your own research on it, that it trades at a pretty high multiple. And I'm just wondering, at this stage of the company, how it can justify having that high of a multiple, even as I'm a massive fan of the burrito itself. So if I go up, me happy. Says you Vixie Bull. Yes, it went up a little bit. It's got to break out through the 650. It was a nice snapback. Again, pretty broad-based rally today, so strong. All right, sounds like the fire alarm is going off out in the stairwell of my building here, so maybe I should end the afternoon meeting because it looks like I got through everybody's questions and make sure that the building's not burning down. So have a great evening, everybody. Tomorrow should be exciting. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. Be ready for